There is a silent tragedy that follows men who cling to goodness as their highest virtue. It is the tragedy of being overlooked, betrayed, used, and ultimately discarded by a world that does not reward kindness but exploits it. Niccolo Machiavelli's final warning is as sharp as a blade. The cost of goodness is not admiration, not love, not peace. It is weakness, subjugation, and failure. Men who cling to the illusion that morality will protect them will spend their lives serving those who abandoned morality long ago. This is the truth most never dare to accept. But if you hear it, if you let it sink into your bones, you will never see goodness the same way again. From the moment we are born, we are told that goodness is the path to happiness. Be kind and people will love you. Be honest and people will trust you. Be loyal and people will reward you. Yet when you look at the world with open eyes, what do you see? The kind are often ignored. The honest are mocked or punished for their bluntness. The loyal are used until they are no longer useful, then cast aside without hesitation. Meanwhile, the cunning, the ruthless, and the adaptable rise higher and higher. It is not goodness that elevates men, it is power, and power rarely comes through virtue alone. Machiavelli understood this contradiction deeply. He knew that people are not as noble as they pretend to be. They are selfish, envious, fearful, and ungrateful. A ruler, or any man who wants to rise, must therefore learn to treat men not as they ought to be, but as they are. If you act only with goodness, you expose yourself to the worst in others. Your honesty will be exploited by liars. Your loyalty will be betrayed by opportunists. Your mercy will be interpreted as weakness. And in the end, your goodness will not protect you. It will destroy you. This is the true cost of goodness. It blinds you. It convinces you that the world is fair, that if you play your role honorably, others will respond in kind. But the world is not fair. It is brutal, competitive, and filled with people waiting to take advantage of those who hesitate. When you live by goodness alone, you live in a fantasy, while others play the real game. And in that game, only the cunning survive. Machiavelli's warning is that men must be prepared to step outside the boundaries of goodness when necessity demands it. He does not argue that cruelty or betrayal should be constant, only that they must be available to you. A man who refuses to be cruel, even when cruelty is required, will be destroyed by those who do not hesitate. A man who refuses to lie, even when the truth will ruin him, will be crushed by those who manipulate without guilt. The cost of never stepping into darkness is that you will forever remain at the mercy of those who live in it. Think of history, how many kings, generals, and leaders were destroyed because they placed their faith in goodness. They kept promises that cost them their power. They showed mercy to enemies who later betrayed them. They trusted men who swore loyalty and then abandoned them in their hour of need. Meanwhile, those who were cunning enough to betray at the right moment, who were ruthless enough to crush an enemy before he could recover, who were willing to appear good while secretly acting otherwise. These are the men who survived, who conquered, who left their names written in the chronicles of power. The danger of goodness is not simply that it makes you weak. It is that it makes you predictable. A good man can be mapped out. His honesty guarantees that he will speak the truth, even when silence would protect him. His loyalty guarantees that he will keep supporting others, even when they no longer deserve it. His mercy guarantees that he will forgive when punishment is required. Every enemy can predict his moves. Every rival can exploit his virtue. Predictability is death in the game of power. The man who is both lion and fox, strong enough to strike, cunning enough to deceive, is the man who survives. But society never teaches this. Instead, it conditions men to believe that goodness is its own reward. Teachers, leaders, even religious institutions preach that sacrifice, obedience, and honesty will lead to happiness. Yet if this were true, the most obedient workers would be the richest. The most loyal soldiers would become generals. The most honest men would control nations. But none of this is reality. Reality rewards those who combine appearances of virtue with the ruthless ability to break them when necessary. And here lies the essence of Machiavelli's final warning. It is not necessary to be good. It is only necessary to appear good. If people believe you are kind, honest, and loyal, they will let their guard down. They will trust you, they will invite you in, they will support you. And when the moment arrives where goodness would harm you, you discard it like a mask. You do what must be done. And when the deed is over, you put the mask back on. People remember the image of goodness longer than the fleeting moment of ruthlessness. Appearances endure, reality fades. This advice is dark because it forces you to abandon illusions. It demands that you stop pretending the world will reward your innocence. It demands that you accept that betrayal, deceit, and cruelty are not accidents of history, but permanent forces in human life. Once you accept this, you will never again give away loyalty freely. You will never again sacrifice yourself for a false code. You will never again assume that honesty will protect you. You will instead live with your eyes open, prepared to use every tool, light or dark, to secure your survival and success. The cost of ignoring Machiavelli's warning is your life lived in servitude. You will become the man who works harder than anyone else, only to see others promoted above you because they were cunning enough to flatter, deceive, or betray. You will become the man who sacrifices for friends, only to watch them abandon you when they no longer need you. You will become the man who spares his enemies, only to be destroyed by them later. You will become the man who clings to honor, only to die nameless, while the dishonorable live like kings. And so the question must be asked, is goodness worth the cost? Is it worth living as prey so that others may eat? Is it worth being remembered as honorable, if the price is that your name vanishes into silence while the cunning write history? Or is it better to wear the mask of goodness while secretly mastering ruthlessness, to appear noble while calculating every move, to smile while planning your strike, to use virtue as a weapon rather than a chain? Machiavelli would argue that the latter is the only path to freedom. You must never become addicted to the comfort of goodness. It feels safe to be kind, to be honest, to be loyal. It feels righteous to sacrifice. But safety is a lie, righteousness is a trap, and sacrifice is often suicide. The man who clings to these illusions will live quietly and die forgotten. The man who sheds them will live dangerously and die powerful. Which fate do you choose? The truth most men cannot handle is that the world does not actually want them to be good. It wants them to be useful. Goodness is tolerated only when it serves someone else's interest. The moment it does not, the mask of appreciation is ripped away, and what remains is contempt. A man who spends his life trying to be good for others discovers too late that he was never loved for his virtue. He was used for it. People praise goodness when it benefits them, but they quickly abandon it when it gets in their way. To live without seeing this is to live in chains. Goodness, when pure and unguarded, becomes nothing but naivety. A man who is always kind becomes the easiest to exploit. A man who is always honest becomes the easiest to deceive. A man who is always merciful becomes the easiest to betray. These men mistake their servitude for honor, believing that by obeying the rules of goodness, they are noble. But what is nobility when it leaves you powerless? What is morality when it chains your hands while others strike you freely? Nobility without power is just another form of slavery. The cost of goodness also reveals itself in lost opportunities. Think of the countless men who refused to seize power because they thought it was dishonorable. They stayed silent when they should have spoken. They stepped aside when they should have pushed forward. They forgave when they should have punished. Each choice felt moral in the moment, but over time, these decisions built a cage. Their rivals grew stronger, their enemies more confident, and their influence shrank. By the time they realized that their morality had robbed them of power, it was too late. History is filled with men whose names are forgotten because they were too good to survive. Machiavelli warns that the world is not a stage where morality dictates success. It is a battlefield where only results matter. On this battlefield, goodness can be a tool, but it can never be the foundation. A man who relies on goodness alone is like a soldier who enters combat with only a shield and no sword. He may block a few blows, but he will never strike back, and eventually the enemy will break through. To survive, a man must carry both shield and sword, both virtue and ruthlessness. He must know when to protect and when to destroy. The paradox is that goodness itself is not useless. In fact, it is powerful. but only when it is under your control. A reputation for goodness is invaluable. People are drawn to leaders they believe to be kind, just, and honest, but reputation is not reality. The wise man cultivates the image of goodness, while reserving the freedom to act otherwise when necessary. He smiles while planning his moves. He praises loyalty while preparing for betrayal. He speaks of justice while knowing that justice will bend to power. He uses goodness as a disguise, not as a prison. Consider the wolf who wears sheep's clothing. The sheep trust him, follow him, and never see the danger until it is too late. The wolf who foolishly reveals his fangs too soon is hunted, but the wolf who wears the mask of innocence can feast. In the same way, the man who openly abandons goodness becomes hated, feared, and often destroyed. But the man who appears good while secretly wielding ruthlessness is untouchable. He wins the trust of the masses, while keeping the loyalty of the few who fear his true nature. That balance, the appearance of virtue with the readiness of vice, is the essence of Machiavellian mastery. Good men often reject this strategy because it feels dishonest. They want their image to match their reality. But the world does not reward honesty of character. It rewards effectiveness. If you cling to the purity of always being as you seem, you sacrifice control over perception. You let others see your weaknesses openly, and you give them the tools to destroy you. Why should you be honest about your limits when others will weaponize them against you? Why should you reveal your loyalty when others will only take advantage of it? The man who insists on being transparent is a man volunteering for his own downfall. This is why Machiavelli's final warning is so dangerous. It strips away the illusion that goodness is sacred. It tells men that if they wish to rise, they must be willing to appear one way while being another. It tells men that loyalty is conditional, honesty is situational, and mercy is a weapon only when used sparingly. These truths feel like poison to the ears of those raised on morality, but to the man who embraces them, they are freedom. Freedom from manipulation, freedom from betrayal, freedom from being controlled by others. The cost of goodness also lies in the way it blinds men to human nature. Good men believe others are like themselves, trustworthy, loyal, compassionate, but human beings are rarely so noble. They are driven by self-interest, fear, ambition, and envy. The man who sees only the good in others will always be surprised when betrayal comes. The man who sees the darker impulses of humanity will never be surprised. He expects betrayal, and so he is prepared. He expects deceit, and so he deceives first. He expects cruelty, and so he carries his own dagger, hidden until the moment it is needed. Ask yourself, what does a good man do when faced with betrayal? He is shocked, hurt, and broken. He struggles to understand how someone could turn against him after he gave so much. He hesitates to retaliate because revenge feels immoral. In the meantime, his enemies grow stronger, emboldened by his weakness. But what does a ruthless man do when faced with betrayal? He smiles because he already expected it. He punishes quickly and decisively, not because he enjoys cruelty, but because he knows hesitation is death. One man clings to goodness and suffers. The other embraces reality and survives. The world belongs to the latter. The world belongs to those who are willing to sacrifice the illusion of being good in order to wield true strength. The irony is that these men often appear more virtuous than the truly good. They give gifts strategically. They forgive selectively. They speak of justice and fairness, and people believe them. Their calculated actions create the image of goodness, while their hidden ruthlessness ensures they are never destroyed by it. Meanwhile, the genuinely good are crushed underfoot. Their sacrifices forgotten, their purity mocked. What makes this lesson so bitter is that goodness feels easier. It feels simpler to live by rules that never bend. It feels safer to always tell the truth, to always forgive, to always trust. But simplicity is the enemy of survival. Life is complex, filled with shifting loyalties, hidden motives, and constant conflict. The man who refuses to adapt, who clings to one way of living regardless of circumstance, will always lose to the man who can bend, twist, and reshape himself to meet the moment. Rigidity in goodness is not strength, it is fragility, and fragility always breaks under pressure. Machiavelli does not suggest that you must abandon goodness entirely. He suggests that you must master it, use it when it benefits you, display it when it strengthens your image, withdraw it when it puts you at risk. True mastery is not in rejecting virtue, but in controlling it. A man who can appear merciful but punish when needed is more powerful than the man who is always merciful. A man who can appear honest but lie when necessary is more powerful than the man who never deceives. A man who can appear loyal but betray when survival demands, it is more powerful than the man who dies for loyalty. Power belongs to the man who can hold both masks and switch between them without hesitation. Those who resist this truth cling to hope that goodness will one day be rewarded. They hope the world will change, that people will finally recognize the value of purity. But hope is not a strategy. Hope is the opium of the powerless. The world will not change. Human nature will not evolve into something noble. Betrayal, deceit, and ambition will always exist. To live as if they do not is to invite destruction. To live as if they do is to prepare for it. Preparation is power. Look at the fate of good men in your own life. How many have been taken advantage of? How many have given endlessly, only to be abandoned? How many have stayed loyal, only to be discarded when they were no longer needed? How many have spoken truth, only to be punished for it? Their lives are monuments to the cost of goodness. They serve as warnings, though few are wise enough to listen. The hardest part of Machiavelli's final warning is not understanding it. It is accepting it. Acceptance requires you to abandon the comfort of illusions. It requires you to stop believing that the world is fair, that people are honest, that loyalty is eternal. It requires you to step into a darker reality, where you must sometimes lie, sometimes betray, sometimes punish harshly. It requires you to see yourself not as a saint, but as a strategist, and most men cannot do this. They prefer to suffer in innocence than to thrive in cunning. But the man who can accept it, who can wear the mask of goodness, while secretly embracing ruthlessness, becomes untouchable. He is no longer manipulated by others because he expects their games. He is no longer blindsided by betrayal because he saw it coming. He is no longer destroyed by his own mercy because he knows when to withhold it. He moves through life like a player among pawns, smiling as he takes piece after piece, never bound by the false chains of morality. This is the path Machiavelli lays bare. Not the path of saints, but the path of survivors. Not the path of martyrs, but the path of rulers. Not the path of goodness, but the path of power. To choose it is to abandon comfort. To reject it is to embrace weakness. In the end, the cost of goodness is everything a man could have been: strength, influence, legacy, sacrificed on the altar of illusions. The question remains, will you pay that cost, or will you learn to master both faces of the world? The deeper you look into the nature of goodness, the more you realize it was designed as a trap for men. Goodness keeps you obedient. It makes you easy to control. Those in power have always praised goodness, not because it strengthens men, but because it weakens them. Rulers encourage loyalty so they can be served without question. Employers encourage honesty so they can extract your labor without resistance. Societies glorify sacrifice, so you will give away your blood and sweat for causes that never benefit you directly. The myth of goodness is not a guide to freedom. It is a system of control, and the more blindly you obey it, the tighter the chains become. Think of the soldier who is told that loyalty and obedience are the highest virtues. He fights bravely, sacrifices his life, and dies for his commander. Yet the commander lives on, takes the glory, and commands new soldiers to die. The soldier's loyalty is praised after his death. But what good did it bring him? He lies in the ground, while the cunning live in comfort. Goodness gave him honor, but honor cannot resurrect him. Honor cannot feed his family. Honor cannot alter the fact that he was expendable. This is the cost of goodness: to give everything and receive nothing in return but empty words. Now think of the worker who believes that honesty and hard work will be rewarded. He stays late, follows every rule, tells the truth, and devotes himself to the company. Years pass, his back bends, his youth fades, and when the company no longer needs him, he is replaced without hesitation. Was his honesty rewarded? No. His labor was taken, his life drained, and his belief in fairness left him unprepared for the betrayal. Meanwhile, the cunning coworker who knew how to flatter, how to play politics, how to appear loyal while secretly positioning himself for advantage, he is the one who rises. Hard work without strategy is just another form of slavery. The same is true in relationships. The man who believes that being endlessly kind, endlessly forgiving, endlessly good will earn him love often discovers the opposite. His kindness is taken for granted. His forgiveness becomes expected. His goodness becomes invisible, boring and weak. He gives and gives until nothing remains. And still it is not enough. Why? Because goodness without boundaries does not inspire respect. It invites contempt. Love dies where respect is absent, and respect is never earned by being endlessly good. It is earned by being strong enough to withhold goodness when it is not deserved. This is the cruel paradox of goodness. Given freely, it loses value. The more good you are, the less your goodness is respected. The more you forgive, the less your forgiveness matters. The more you give, the less your giving is appreciated. People value what they fear losing, not what they know they can always take. If you want your goodness to mean something, you must be willing to take it away. You must be willing to let others feel the absence of your kindness, your loyalty, your forgiveness. Only then will they understand its worth. To give endlessly without limit is not goodness, it is weakness. Machiavelli's warning shatters the illusion that moral purity is the path to greatness. He teaches that men must be flexible, able to shift between virtue and vice as circumstances demand. It is not about abandoning goodness altogether, but about refusing to be enslaved by it. Imagine two men. One insists on always being truthful. The other tells the truth when it benefits him and lies when it protects him. Which man survives longer? Which man achieves more? The answer is obvious. The world punishes rigidity. It rewards adaptability. The man who clings to goodness without exception is brittle glass, beautiful perhaps, but destined to shatter. The man who bends when needed, who adapts to reality rather than to ideals, is unbreakable. This adaptability is the secret behind the most successful leaders, warriors, and rulers. They were not bound by a single identity. They could be merciful in victory, but ruthless in defense. They could be loyal to allies, yet betray them when the alliance became a threat. They could be honest when honesty built trust, but lie without hesitation when deception preserved power. These men did not let morality define them. They let necessity define them. And necessity has no loyalty to goodness. Necessity rewards survival above all. But here lies the final cruelty. Society punishes those who openly abandon goodness. A man who shows his ruthlessness without disguise is branded a villain, hated and often destroyed. This is why Machiavelli stresses the importance of appearances. It is not enough to be ruthless. You must appear good while being ruthless. People want to believe in goodness. They want to be deceived by it. They will trust you if you show it, even if it is only a mask. And when you strike in ways they never expected, they will rationalize it, forgive it, or forget it, so long as your mask remains intact. The greatest power is not only to act, but to act unseen, hidden beneath the image of virtue. So how does a man live with this truth? First, he must kill the illusion that being good for its own sake will ever protect him. He must stop giving loyalty to those who have not proven theirs. He must stop telling truths that can be used against him. He must stop forgiving those who would betray him again. He must learn to ask, what does this goodness cost me? Before offering it, if the cost is too high, he must withhold it without guilt. Morality without strategy is suicide. Morality with strategy is power. Second, he must cultivate his reputation. Appearances are stronger than reality, because people see what they wish to see. If you appear kind, they will assume you are kind. If you appear honest, they will trust you even when you lie. If you appear loyal, they will forgive your betrayals more easily. The art is not to be good, but to look good. Let others speak of your character. Let them believe in your virtue, while you secretly maneuver behind the mask. The praise of goodness will shield you, even as your hidden ruthlessness carries you forward. Third, he must learn timing, cruelty, betrayal, deception. These tools must be used rarely. but decisively. Too much cruelty breeds hatred. Too much betrayal breeds distrust. Too much deception breeds exposure. But a single act of decisive cruelty can eliminate a rival forever. A single betrayal at the right moment can save your life. A single deception can open doors that honesty would have kept closed. The wise man wields darkness like a scalpel, not a hammer. Each cut is precise, necessary, and effective. This is not chaos, it is strategy. Those who fail to understand timing are destroyed. The man who is endlessly cruel becomes feared and eventually overthrown. The man who betrays constantly is left with no allies. The man who deceives without care is eventually exposed. But the man who uses these tools sparingly, strategically, and under the cover of goodness, he endures. People will forgive a moment of ruthlessness if the mask of virtue remains strong. They will rationalize it as necessary or forget it in time. This is why appearances must always be guarded more carefully than reality. Your reputation is the shield that allows your darker actions to remain hidden. The tragedy of most men is not that they are too dark. It is that they are too light. They cling to ideals of goodness, honesty, loyalty, and sacrifice, as though these things alone will elevate them. They want to believe the world is fair, that people will respect their purity. But purity is invisible to those who take advantage of it. The world does not see saints, it sees prey. And in a world of wolves, prey is not respected, it is consumed. The good man is not admired for his virtue. He is remembered only as a meal. This is why Machiavelli's final warning must be heard. Goodness is not free. It carries a cost. If you choose to live by it, you will pay in betrayal, humiliation, and obscurity. If you choose to master it, to appear good while secretly freeing yourself from its chains, you can wield it as a weapon instead of being wounded by it. The mask of goodness can protect you while you build real strength. The appearance of loyalty can buy you time while you plan your escape. The illusion of honesty can lull others into exposing themselves. Goodness as an image is powerful. Goodness as a reality is dangerous. The choice is not between being good or evil. The choice is between being naive or being prepared, between living as prey or living as predator, between dying for illusions or surviving through strategy. The man who clings to goodness will never want to see this truth, but the man who accepts it, who learns to play both sides, will rise above those still enslaved by morality. He will pay no cost for goodness, because he has turned it from a burden into a tool. He will never again be destroyed by his own virtue. Instead, he will weaponize it. The man who understands Machiavelli's warning begins to see life differently. He stops expecting fairness and starts anticipating deception. He stops waiting for justice and starts creating his own. He stops believing that goodness alone will save him and begins to master the art of appearing virtuous while remaining untouchable inside. This transformation is not about abandoning all morality. It is about no longer being ruled by it. He chooses when to be good, when to be honest, when to be loyal, not because he is bound by some higher law, but because it serves his strategy. Freedom is no longer about doing what is right in the eyes of others. It is about doing what is necessary for survival and victory. This is the ultimate cost of goodness. Not only does it weaken you, but it steals your freedom. The man who is enslaved to goodness has no choice. He cannot betray even when betrayed. He cannot lie even when the truth will ruin him. He cannot punish even when mercy will destroy him. He is bound to act in ways that hurt him because he fears stepping outside the illusion of morality. He lives inside a prison of rules he never chose but was taught to obey. And when he dies, broken and forgotten, those who deceived him will write the history books, praising his honor while secretly laughing at his weakness. Contrast this with the man who learns to play both sides. He understands that goodness, used wisely, is a powerful disguise. He shows mercy when it will build loyalty, but he strikes mercilessly when mercy will endanger him. He tells the truth when it builds trust, but he lies when the truth would destroy him. He gives loyalty when it benefits him, but he betrays when betrayal is the only path forward. This man does not live in chains. He chooses his actions with clarity, guided not by illusions, but by necessity. His freedom is real because it is not bound by morality. It is bound only by strategy. The reason most men never achieve this freedom is fear. They fear being seen as cruel, dishonest, or disloyal. They fear losing the approval of others. But what has approval ever given them? Approval does not protect you from betrayal. Approval does not shield you from exploitation. Approval does not stop enemies from attacking. Approval is worthless if it is not backed by power. And power does not come from being good. It comes from being feared, respected, and unpredictable. A man who learns to wield fear, who demands respect, who never shows his full hand, is a man others cannot easily touch. Fear, respect, unpredictability. These are the currencies of power. Goodness alone buys nothing. At best, it buys temporary admiration, but admiration fades quickly. Respect lasts only if you are strong enough to enforce it. Fear endures as long as people know the price of crossing you. And unpredictability ensures that no one can ever fully control or exploit you. To cultivate these qualities, you must step beyond goodness. You must be willing to let go of the desire to always be loved, always be approved of, always be seen as pure. Love is fickle, approval is shallow, purity is invisible, strength, on the other hand, is undeniable. The greatest deception a man can master is making others believe he is ruled by goodness, while secretly being ruled by strategy. Imagine a man who appears kind, but whose kindness is given only to those who strengthen his position. Imagine a man who appears loyal, but who knows exactly when to walk away before loyalty destroys him. Imagine a man who appears honest, but who knows how to twist words, withhold truths, or fabricate illusions when the moment demands it. This man is dangerous because no one suspects him. They see the mask, not the hand beneath it, and by the time they realize the truth, it is already too late. History remembers such men not as villains, but as rulers. Their ruthlessness is forgotten, but their achievements endure. Their betrayals are rewritten as strategy, their cruelty as justice, their lies as necessary for the greater good. Meanwhile, the truly good men, the ones who lived without deception, without betrayal, without cruelty, are forgotten. Their purity earned them no place in the chronicles of power. Their names are erased, their sacrifices buried, their stories untold. This is the ultimate proof that the cost of goodness is anonymity. You can be good and forgotten, or you can be cunning and eternal. And yet, there is still one more layer to Machiavelli's final warning. He does not merely say that goodness is dangerous. He says that goodness is dangerous because it is predictable. Predictability kills men faster than cruelty ever could. The moment others can map out your actions, they control you. If they know you will always forgive, they can betray without fear. If they know you will always tell the truth, they can corner you with your own words. If they know you will always be loyal, they can exploit you endlessly, knowing you will never walk away. Predictability is death. The man who wants to survive must become unreadable. He must keep others guessing, never letting them see the full truth of his intentions. To master unpredictability, you must sometimes do the opposite of what is expected. Forgive when they expect you to punish. Punish when they expect you to forgive. Betray when they are certain of your loyalty. Stay loyal when they are certain you will betray. Tell the truth when they expect a lie, and lie when they expect the truth. Keep others off balance, unsure of your true nature. The moment they think they understand you is the moment you are most vulnerable. The man who is never fully known can never be fully controlled. This then is the path of power. Appear good, but never be bound by goodness. Use virtue as a tool, not as a master. Strike ruthlessly when needed, but never without reason. Lie when it protects you, but guard your reputation so carefully that your lies are never discovered. Betray when survival demands it, but maintain the mask of loyalty so that betrayal is seen as necessity, not treachery. Be merciful when it benefits you, but do not hesitate to crush those who threaten your survival. Walk through the world as both lion and fox, feared for your strength and respected for your cunning. And above all, remember that no one will protect you but yourself. The world will not reward your goodness. It will not save you for your sacrifices. It will not honor you for your loyalty. These are illusions meant to keep you obedient, meant to keep you weak, Only you can protect yourself, and to do so, you must be willing to pay the price of power, the rejection of illusions. To survive, to rise, to endure, you must accept the darkness within you, master it, and wield it like a weapon. The final warning is clear. Goodness is not what it seems. It is not protection. It is not strength. It is not the path to greatness. It is a mask you must learn to wear. Nothing more. If you make it your true face, it will consume you. But if you wear it strategically, it will open doors while keeping enemies blind. The cost of being truly good is weakness, betrayal, and obscurity. The reward of appearing good but being ruthless is survival, power, and legacy. So the choice stands before every man. Will you cling to the illusions of goodness and pay the price of being consumed? Or will you master the mask of goodness and live untouchable? Will you die forgotten? Or will you rise feared and respected? Will you sacrifice yourself on the altar of morality? Or will you break free and wield morality as your tool? Machiavelli does not give you comfort. He gives you truth. And truth, once seen, cannot be unseen. You can deny it, but denial will not save you. You can resist it, but resistance will not protect you. Or you can accept it, embrace it, and live by it. The cost of goodness is your life. The reward of power is eternity. And this is the choice you must make now.